Welcome to the College Admission TV Presidential Podcast. We sit down with passionate leaders in higher education for their thoughts and insights in today's world. We are excited to have as our guest Dr. Tiffany Franks, President of Averett University in Danville, Virginia.
I'd love to. Can I start with your journey?
Sure, absolutely.
Your path. I'd love to learn about, who were the mentors that helped shape you?
Yeah. Brad, I feel so blessed because they go all the way back to when I started my college career. And I often share that, when one door closes, another opens. And it's one of the beautiful things that happened in my life. When you grow up in Columbus, Ohio, you automatically just assume you are going to land. Back in when I was graduating from high school in the early 80s, you just assume you're going to land at Ohio State. And that's what you imagine for yourself. And I am so thankful that I was waitlisted for my first semester. And that led me to look at a variety of small private colleges in that central Ohio area. And long and short of it is, I found a place that was so right for me. And when I think about the mentors I had in my undergraduate experience, had it not been for that profound experience in my life, and for, whether it was the director of residence life or the VP for student affairs or a faculty member, in religion, I can still think about the people that absolutely helped me see what was possible for my own life very early on. And so my first mentors that were life-changing were truly my undergraduate experience. And then that continued through graduate school when I eventually did go to Ohio State for my graduate work. And I had a wonderful mentor there who was in student affairs, who her name is Dr. Jeannie Likens, and I give her such credit for helping me see what was possible for my career. I think so many people, I should back up. I started out as a business major and in undergrad, and it was in that junior year of undergrad that a mentor helped me realize you can make a career out of being in higher education, out of working with college students. And of course, you don't grow up thinking you're going to work with college students.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, so I had the chief student affairs officer at my undergraduate experience. I had an incredible leader in student affairs at Ohio State, Jeannie Likens, who helped me know that you didn't have to follow a traditional path in student affairs. And her father was the president of a small private college in North Carolina. And of course, I didn't know that until way into our journey together. But long and short of it is, he was visiting. She wanted me to spend time with him. I did. And really got to know him. And about 6 months later, I get a call as I'm beginning my job search process. And he invites me to apply for a dean of students position. You talk about a non-traditional candidate. I was 23 years old. That's pretty non-traditional. And but thank goodness I had a mentor who said, you don't equate age with maturity, with professional ability. So I went through a really competitive search process and found myself with some really great options. But thanks to those mentors in undergrad and graduate school, it led me to say yes to a great opportunity in North Carolina. And then my mentors, I've had mentors at every stage of my career. I'm just going to fast forward. I think people may think when you're a president, do you still have mentors? Yeah, I probably have. I may have more today than I did when I started. I have had a coach who has been a great mentor to me for golly, the whole time I've been president. And her name is Joanne Soliday. And Joanne was a founder of Performa Higher Education that later became Credo. And I think, and then when I just step back, and there's so many colleagues that I have been blessed to work with through the years. I mean, the teams that I've been blessed to support, and they've helped me be who I am. So it's not always somebody with just a mentor in front of their name, right? I mean, it's your VP for enrollment management. It's your athletic director. You name it. There have been a number of people that I've walked in this journey alongside that have really helped me.
And you had talked about the differences between those bigger flagship institutions, but then getting to know, a private, not-for-profit institution that might be a little bit just smaller in size.
Yeah.
But I would imagine, talk about a sense of belonging, right? And truly getting to know the students, where other places you may not be able to. Can you talk a little bit about, how Averett allows you to do that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and just going back to the beginning of my career, I always say thanks to a small private liberal arts institution, that's why I do what I do today, because I saw what that did for my own life and the doors it opened for me. And I said, I want to spend the rest of my career in this area. And so Averett University, my husband and I just fell in love with this institution. We had known Averett for many, many years, through our work and through athletics and through other things. And we fell in love with this place that just focused so intentionally on relationships. Relationships at all levels, all directions, between students and faculty, students and staff, staff and faculty, the community with the institution, that we use in so many, powerful ways to help our students. We loved that Averett University was the hometown university for, this whole region. We're not in this community. We have 1 4-year university hours and a community college. And we like that we're able to lead.
So, and when you look at, community and how important that is, so in Danville and potentially beyond, Danville, Virginia, and potentially beyond, how are you engaging with the community today? Is it, the business relationships that turn into internships, and I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that.
Oh, Brad, I would just say that at Averett and this community are absolutely what I would say inextricably linked. I say over and over that one of the great Averett advantages is that when our students come here, they're learning. Yes, they're in the classroom, but there isn't a classroom experience that's not linked in some way with our surrounding community. And so that emphasis on whether it's what we call a service learning class, whether it's a work-based learning experience, whether it's an internship, whether it's volunteerism, whether it's leadership in the community, students are developing those much needed soft skills. They're discovering what they're passionate about. They're discovering things they never imagined for themselves. And you cannot do that in just every community. Brad, when you come visit us in April, and you travel through our community, I challenge you to go to, whether you're in any restaurant or store or whatever, just ask them about Averett. You're going to hear about probably graduates. You're going to learn about families of Averett students. We are absolutely woven throughout the entire community. And our students tell us how valuable that is.
Well, and you had even mentioned, hosting, students from Finland and all over. And so that, I oftentimes hear words, meet students where they are.
Yep.
That's kind of, I don't know, saying, mantra, whatever you call it, but
Yeah.
meeting students where they are. So can you talk a little bit about that, whether it be through different types of modalities online, on campus, but again, international, et cetera. So how is Averett meeting students where they are today?
Well, I think we do that so beautifully. So our students, while the majority come from Virginia and North Carolina, and then Maryland would be the third state, they come from 30 countries and 24 states. And it is one of the things that's become very special at Averett is we because we have such strong programs in what we call Averett Online. I can be in my second year at Averett as a sophomore, and maybe I'm a wrestler, or I'm from Finland, or whatever it may be. I can take my experience if I want to be able to have 2 classes a semester that's face to face, but I want to be able to have the flexibility of an online class. I can do that here because Averett has such strong programs at both face to face as well as online. And so we've set ourselves in a position that allows students to go back and forth and really customize their path, and we're working to be more flexible for students, so that they can truly customize. One of the things that our students over and over tell us they love is here you can be a nursing major or an aviation major and be a student athlete. I mean, there are a lot of schools where that's very difficult to make happen. And so we've been very intentional because our students come to us with many different areas of interest, and we want to make certain that they're able to pursue as many of those interests as possible, meeting them where they are. My husband and I, Brad, one of the things we've done for the last 16 years is have our students to our house for dinner during their first semester. And part of that is very selfish on our part, honestly, because we want to get to know our students. That's part of who Averett is. That's part of who we are. But we're able to learn the interests of our students in their first semester. We're able to learn what they enjoy. We're able to learn what they would like to see. And I think that permeates throughout our campus. That's not just my husband and I doing that. We come back and we share what students are loving with the campus. We share things that reflect their voice, their aspirations, so that as faculty and staff and as student leaders, we all work together to help meet students where they are.
Well, absolutely. And I'll tell you, I think, especially being a freshman, when you look at persistence rates and retention, and I think you just answered, you really answered my next question, but I'll share it anyway.
Yeah.
Just regarding, students, especially students that might be first year, that might not understand the experience, may not know what they're getting into.
Yes.
Maybe they want to get involved, but who knows? Maybe they're shy, maybe again, this is new to them. So how do you make sure that you really embrace them and get them involved, so they're comfortable and they stay?
It's critical. And we work on it from before the student ever gets here. I mean, that's the bottom line. This doesn't just start the day they arrive and either move into their residence hall or begin college at Averett. I mean, it starts early on through relationships, and whether it's through our open houses or our scholarship days, our staff and faculty are getting to know our students. They're engaging with them. Once they get on campus, we wrap our arms around students and parents. I think about that first weekend, again, whether they're living on campus or whether they're living in our surrounding, 60-mile radius, whatever it is. We're side by side with them. By the end of the weekend before classes start, I mean, we are welcoming them into the Averett family through what we call a new student induction, and that's for parents and students. And it's a ceremony that lifts up the entire entering class. Then students are able to do all kinds of social experiences in small groups that helps them start to have a small group in which they're beginning to develop friendships and a bond with. At the same time, we're hosting our parents at the house for a reception so that we know it's a time of great anxiety. And again, we're wrapping our arms around them. Those few days leading up to the first day of class are so critical, we know, and it's all about the relationships between our students and between upper class students, and making certain that every incoming student knows they have an upper class student that they can go to. It's making certain that through what we call the Averett 110 class, which is where, students really learn about the campus and success strategies and every bit of that. So they have a faculty member there that they're already beginning to get to know. And, students who are athletes are already bonding with their team. Students in programs like nursing and aviation and teacher education, you name it, our faculty are reaching out to our students through their areas of interest. Maybe they're interested in the arts. Well, I promise you, faculty are already reaching out early on. And so whether it is an involvement fair that happens the first week of classes, whether it's things that are happening in the residence halls, whether it's campus events, clubs and organizations, you name it, we're working to get students involved. The other thing that happens pretty early on is we want students in the community early. We don't want that to wait until they're a second semester student. So already students are finding ways to really anchor themselves and feel at home and know they belong.
Well, and so how are you engaging alumni today to come back and stay engaged?
Alumni engagement, I think, Brad, begins with students. It starts by making certain that your students are having just an incredible experience. And, here we were last night in my living room with I don't know how many seniors from Finland who were talking about how Averett had been life-changing for them. And even though they will have to return to their homeland by next summer, they were already talking about how they would come back for homecoming and how they wanted to stay involved at Averett. So I think it does. It starts when they're students. And then I think, one of the things I love about what we do to keep to engage our alumni is around their areas of interest. Whether that was athletics, whether that was the arts, whether maybe it was aviation, whatever. We have Aviation Day coming up, and this is where a number of our alumni will come back to share their success stories with prospective students. We do that in nursing. I mean, we do that all around the campus. So I think we engage alumni around interests. We engage them through where they live. We always say to our students at graduation, watch for an invitation because we're going to be in your backyard at some point. And so we're continually trying to engage with them socially. We get them involved through their areas of professional expertise, whether they're being invited to serve as mentors, whether they're on an advisory board. Many of our academic programs have some form of an advisory board. It's wonderful to have alumni involved in those ways. And our alumni want to give back. So those are a few ways.
Well, and I'll tell you, and I think what Averett has done, in engaging, students and alums to really allow current students to understand the different paths that they can take. Because I know even with my children, who my oldest is still in high school, but yeah. I think you alluded to it earlier, he's thinking about, some common majors that he hears about. There's nothing wrong with that. but he also is eager to learn about, well, but where will I go from here? Like,
Right.
what career can I take on? And I think there's a lot, yeah, obviously that he's not aware of yet. And so
Right.
the engagement at Averett really allows you to understand, hey, you can do nursing, you can do aviation, you can do arts, and here's what that means.
Absolutely. And something I would add that I have fallen in love with about Averett is most of our students don't just have one major. I mean, they have 2 and 3 majors and several minors. And I think that just speaks to how our students, we hear this over and over, they get in the classroom, and because of a faculty member's passion and excitement about their subject, I mean, students say to us, we are learning for the first time. We're enjoying learning. And so what will happen is they think they wanted to be a business major, but before they know it, it's business and history, or it's business and who knows, you name it, English, or they're putting all kinds of things together. I mean, it's almost like this smorgasbord. And I just think it's pretty beautiful. It's always just fascinating when I'm talking to our students and I'm saying, now, what are you studying or what are you majoring in? And they start rattling off 6 things. And I think, good gracious. I mean, here I was in college. I did one. I didn't do 6 or 3 or whatever. So I admire them so much. But I mean, that's what it's about, is helping students discover their passion, helping things multiple things that they'll be passionate about. That's what it is about.
Well, and you know, the competition in higher education is pretty intense.
Yes.
You know, many people would say that the market is saturated with institutions. So you've already mentioned a number of ways how Averett, you know, it is distinctive and competes successfully. So does the cliff concern you? Does the competition concern you? And I guess how do you make sure that Averett stays ahead?
Well, I mean, yes. What I would say is Averett has. We've heard for years. I mean, we've known this enrollment cliff is coming. At the same time, and I would just say we've been growing our Averett Online because we absolutely believe that there are learners of all ages, as we know, and Averett has had a real history in the adult education space, but the average age of the adult learner has gotten much younger, 25, 26. I mean, when I first started at Averett, the average age of an adult learner was maybe 40 some or something. So anyway, all of that is to say, we have tried to take the assets of our institution, the things we do really well, and be very flexible with those and be very agile with those so that we create value for students, whether they're 18 or whether they're 80. And how do we do that? I mean, we do that through making certain that we have what I call very market responsive programs. Students want that. Parents want that. The workforce needs that. It's expected today. We don't start something because we like it. We start it because it's needed. And I would say we have an enormous responsibility to our surrounding region. We do a lot of listening across Virginia, across the regions we serve, to understand what those workforce needs are going to be in 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, whatever. So we make certain that we don't start anything that's not in demand. And then we make certain that we're adapting to how students want to be able to shape and customize their experiences. Like I said earlier, so if they want to be able to sprinkle in more online, combined with living on campus and having all the great amenities of a traditional college experience, but when they're able to do things more flexibly. So I think that's really, really important. We're also making certain that we are adding certificates in majors where possible, that we're identifying those other credentials. So like in aviation, not every here we've got this incredible aeronautics program. Not everybody wants to be a pilot, or maybe I want to be a pilot, but I also want to be certified in the area of unmanned aerial systems. Okay, we need to be able to provide that credential to our students. So it is about adding badges and credentials and ways to help students develop those much needed workforce skills to complement all that they are learning in the classroom. I will say we also froze tuition this year. We said we have got to make certain that we are continually keeping Averett affordable. So we said we're freezing tuition. So I think yes, there's an enrollment cliff, but there is just no question. Here we are with 23 NCAA Division III sports, a vibrant arts program, an institution that is so heavily connected to its community that prepares our students for not only life after Averett, but they are workforce ready. So we're doing all kinds of things, is what I would say.
And it sounds like there's a lot of expansion with physical buildings on campus, with fundraising initiatives that have brought in money to continue the expansion. And then there's new academic programs.
Absolutely.
And the impact that must have when you're walking around parents and students to see construction, to see new buildings, that's got to be a huge impact for families that are considering colleges.
Well, absolutely. And I think too, people see Averett, they hear about our partnerships. We have a real commitment to partnering, not only in the region, but well beyond. I mean, for instance, here comes Caesars Entertainment to Danville, Virginia. Well, what does that mean? This region, in addition to Caesars, there's so much vibrancy and so many things are evolving in this region. So the community needed us to have a hospitality management and tourism program. So we've partnered with Caesars to make that happen. Tyson's is opened a new plant here. Well, the general manager's first hire of a management position was a student before they had ever graduated. So I like to think about, I often talk about the Averett advantage. And there are a lot of Averett advantages here. And it's the things you referenced. And I just think the relationships that we have with corporations and you name it is very strong. And that helps our students in immeasurable ways.
Well, and the ability to get that message about the Averett advantage, being able to get that into feeder high schools and being able to get it in front of students and parents before they come to the university has got to be critical.
Absolutely. So something, to give you an idea, back in November, we had an event called a Night of Connection. We had 100 and maybe 50 of our students, and we had over 70 community leaders, just highly successful Averett graduates, benefactors to the institution. And I think of it, I describe the night in many ways like speed dating. So what happens is we've got 150 students or so. We've got round tables all over. And this was in our Carrington Recreation Center. And, the idea is every 12 minutes, students move to another table, and each table is hosted by this highly successful friend of the university. Students, the whole time around that table, students are asking questions of that community leader, and they're learning, and the community leaders are exchanging their cards with our students, and we're behind the scenes teaching students before and after this event. Here's how you network. Here's how, when somebody gives you their business card, they can be the general managers of Caesars Entertainment or you name it. They mean for you to follow up with them. So here's what follow up really looks like. I mean, those are the kinds of hands-on things that we're doing with our students, and that's the Averett advantage.
Yeah. So now, where do you see Averett in 10 years?
You know, today, with how fast things are moving, to even think 10 years, it's very exciting. I mean, and I'm going to answer that question, I promise. But I heard somebody say recently that as AI was evolving this last summer, and you had Chat GPT and everything that was happening there, that was in its infancy, and that 1 year later, AI would be almost a senior citizen. So that just tells us how fast everything's going. So I think it's hard to predict anything in 10 years. But what I do believe is that Averett will build upon its agility and its flexibility so that we are customizing learning in even more intentional ways, because it's all about meeting students where they are. And Averett has done that for years. I mean, I can go back to the 70s and talk about the innovative things this university was doing. It's in our DNA. So we will continue to be agile, to innovate. My gut tells me that the pathway to the degree will look very different. I think that you're going to have students who definitely want the degree, but they want other kinds of learning options. So, I mean, I think we're going to be doing things that we can't even imagine right now. I think you will see that we will, in all likelihood, continue to have added more athletic programs. We will have, I think our physical campus will continue to really evolve. I will say we're landlocked here. I mean, so the beautiful thing about being landlocked, it's forced Averett to take its footprint all throughout the region. So we have 5 campuses. Will we have another campus in 10 years? I wouldn't be surprised. Will we have 2 or 3 more campuses? I wouldn't be surprised. The wonderful Riverview campus that's home to our nursing. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if in 5 years we don't see an entrepreneurship innovation lab in that facility. Right now it's in our library. I think it'll move. I think it'll be bigger. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have something in the hospitality and culinary space area that's happening in our facilities. I mean, I just think we'll see our facilities continue to evolve to meet students where they are, meet workforce where it is, meet this region where it is.
And so now you're coming up on 16 years, right? In July?
This is the 6th. Yeah.
Oh,
this is the 16th year. I'll start the 17th.
So I can imagine there's been a lot of challenges throughout that time. Whether it be the pandemic, whether it be the financial crash in 08, 09, but I'm sure there's many more. And obviously Averett has weathered a lot of storms since their beginning in 1859. But what's the biggest challenge that you're facing today, and how are you overcoming that?
The biggest challenge is simple. The biggest challenge is Averett. We have so many exciting things happening here. And we have so many opportunities. The biggest challenge is truly staffing all of that and expanding our capacity fast enough to really keep grabbing the opportunities in front of us that help us continue to expand for our students and for the marketplace and for the region. So it's all about just expanding capacity. That's our biggest challenge. And that's an exciting challenge to have. We're not hurting for, we've got great opportunities in front of us. We have to just keep expanding capacity.
And I feel the excitement. I mean, I love it because I can feel the excitement, and I can just hear, and I understand a lot of those advantages that you talk about at Averett, and really how distinctive and transformative Averett is, compared to a lot of schools. So, I mean, what a great conversation. President Tiffany Franks, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity, appreciate everything that Plexus has meant to Averett and just the partnership, and very, very appreciative. So thank you. Always great to talk about the institution I love.
Excellent. Excellent. And I can't wait to get out there in the spring.
Great. We'll look forward to having you. All right.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of College Admission TV Presidential Podcasts with Dr. Tiffany Franks, President of Averett University. Stay tuned for our next podcast where we will sit down with Dr. Gene Fant, Jr., President of North Greenville University in Tigerville, South Carolina.